Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live webinar brought to you by immigrationquestion.com, your trusted source for immigration news, expert legal insights, and real-time conversations with experienced immigration attorneys. My name is Max Castro, and I'll be your host for today's timely and important session defending against deportation, effective legal strategies in today's immigration courts. Facing deportation is one of the most stressful and frightening experiences an immigrant can endure. With immigration courts becoming more complex and enforcement increasing, the stakes are higher than ever for families at risk of separation. That's why this session is dedicated to breaking down the most effective legal strategies for removal defense in today's immigration system. By the end of this conversation, you'll have a clearer understanding of how deportation cases are handled, what legal cases or defenses may be available, and how immigrants, attorneys, and families can work together to fight for stability and justice. We are honored to be joined today by attorney Natalie Womack, a respected immigration attorney based in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and licensed in the District of Columbia. She is the founder of the law office of Natalie Driver Womack, where she has provided compassionate immigration counsel since 2011. With deep experience with family-based and employment-based employment-based petitions, DACA/GAPA, removal defense, and naturalization, Natalie is known for her strategic thinking and unwavering support for her clients. A former FBI administrative specialist and adjunct professor, she's both fluent in English and Spanish and proudly serves a diverse clientele across the country. You're welcome, Attorney Womack. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have to edit. I am not fluent in Spanish. I wish I were, but I have a paralegal that is if someone needs that assistance. Thank you for the introduction, Max. I appreciate it.
Of course. But before we dive in a quick but important reminder, Immigration Question is the two-in-one platform that connects users with licensed immigration attorneys. We are not a law firm and are not affiliated with AILA or USCIS. All legal services are provided independently by attorneys in our network. Let's dive right in. Attorney Womack, let's start with the basics. For someone currently in removal proceedings, what are the first and most important steps they should take to protect their case?
Okay, so I think that that's an excellent question. And the first thing that you should do is do what is not natural. Do not panic, right? Because the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to panic. But that can be the worst thing that you do, because when you're in panic mode, you're not thinking clearly, okay? And this will require you thinking clearly, and just know that this is a long game and it is not going to be quick. I know that everybody wants things to be done quickly, but with immigration and immigration court, things are not done quickly if you're in removal proceedings. So then there's some additional things that I would say. The next thing is to lawyer up. Okay, so especially now, it's very important to have counsel to represent you. Even when you're doing, I do family-based petitioning. Even when you're doing that family-based petitioning, if you petition and there's something wrong with the petition process, you could be put in removal proceedings and you would get a notice to appear. So it's important that if something like that did happen, that you would have an experienced attorney to let you know we have to now immediately appeal. We have to keep going to make sure that we are not in that process of just set with the removal proceeding where you have an order of deportation. So again, don't panic, lawyer up. And then the third thing is show up. Make sure that you make all appearances. This is very important because you don't want anything to happen that you're not present for. And if you get to the point where you're in your individual hearings and you are not there, the judge can rule for an order of removal in absentia. So you want to make sure that you're present. And then the last thing is gathering up your information, right? Like when I am an attorney for one of my clients, it is a partnership. And when I say that, of course, I'm working for you, but this is a partnership. We're working on this together. So my clients, they read up, they find things, they say, hey, Nat, I found this. I'm like, perfect. Let me do more research. Let me see if that's an option. In addition to that, gather your own information. Like if you have tax returns, if you have anything that will show that you have good moral character in your community, start volunteering. These are the types of things that you can do to kind of like help because it's going to be a long process. But those are the major things. Don't panic, lawyer up, show up, and gather up your information. That's very helpful.
Very well said. Thank you so much, attorney. Let me move on to the next question. What
Okay.
legal defenses are most used in immigration court, and how do attorneys determine which strategy is best for each client?
Okay. So again, you're fostering that relationship with your attorney. And I mean, in any profession that you encounter someone, you can determine whether or not in that first couple of minutes, whether or not it's a connect between you and the attorney. I don't take every client. Because when I take on a client, I'm taking on them as a holistic person. I have to now determine, are there things in your life that potentially you are going through that may provide you with the defense. So it's very smart to find a lawyer that you're very comfortable with. And one of the great things about immigration law is that an immigration lawyer, they can perform work for you throughout the country. So it doesn't have to be relegated to a particular state. So that's one of the benefits. Now, with regards to some of the defenses, I consider it the ABCDs as well as an alphabet soup of various defenses. So know that there are a lot of things that you can use as a defense. You just have to have those conversations. So the first one is adjustment of status. So if you get married, and now you're married, you can do adjustment of status and you can petition. So if you're in immigration court, that can be your prayer for relief, and that could be stated to the judge, as well as then asking to make sure that the case is administratively closed, if that's an option that the federal government will allow. Then the second thing is the B. I consider that almost to the point where it's a battery to your body, in the sense of if there's any types of claims for asylum where it's harm to your body. So it's asylum, withholding of removal, or conventions against torture. So if there's anything in your home country that would present any form of harm to you as an individual, you can know that there are defenses there. Then the C is dealing with cancellation of removal. And cancellation of removal is an excellent defense, but you have to go into that gathering paperwork for your attorney. You have to show that you've been in the country for 10 years, that you have good moral character, and that's important, and that it would be an extreme hardship if on the U.S. citizens that are in your life if you were to be deported. And then the D is for discretionary. Sometimes you may have the chief counsel who may hear a case and may have some compassion for the situation. So at times there could be a joint filing between you and between the attorney, your attorney, and chief counsel. And that is at the discretion of chief counsel. And then the alphabet soup. This is one of the most important things because I don't think people understand that the situations that you encounter here in the US can truly be a path to citizenship for you all by yourself. So if there is any form of violence that you've encountered, it could be, you could have an option to a U visa. You could have an option to a T visa, right? So that's dealing with human trafficking and any crimes. So if you've been the victim of any crimes or if human trafficking, then you could potentially apply for citizenship yourself. And another important one is VAWA, which is the Violence Against Women's Act. So this allows that if you're in an abusive situation and you want to make sure that you're keeping as much documentation as you can because it's a proof process. So if you're in a domestic situation with someone and they're using your immigration status as leverage or manipulation, you can petition for yourself. It's kind of the reasonableness of you should not take anything from someone if they are harming you or hurting you. So this is a path to being able to walk away and walk into your citizenship. But in doing that, you have to have an excellent proof process and you have to submit all the supporting documentation. And one last one that I think that's very important, and this one is close to my heart, which is a special immigrant of juvenile status. So if you're 21 years or younger and you have been abused, abandoned, or neglected by one or two of your parents, then if the order is written correctly in the state court, then you can petition for citizenship yourself. So I think that a lot of when you're going through things, you just think of the fact that I'm going through. But that's when that open conversation with your attorney truly matters, because what you're going through may truly be your path to citizenship. So I'm very aware of my clients. I like to do video calls with them if I can. And if I'm not doing video calls, I start to get to know them through the phone. And if I'm getting the sense that there's something that is a little bit off, best believe I'm going to ask you, because it's a part of me caring as a human being, but I'm also your attorney and your advocate in any and every way I can. So I want to know what is going on in your life. What have you experienced? Because that can be a defense to your removal proceeding. So all of those things, just think about the fact that you need to find an attorney that you are very comfortable with talking about, to kind of like air that dirty laundry, to see if potentially there may be some issues or some matters that will allow you citizenship. So it's very important.
We're very lucky to have someone who actually cares about what they do. Thank you so much for that answer, Attorney Womack. I do have a couple more questions. So, from me, many immigrants fear that once they're in removal proceedings, deportation is inevitable. What options exist to stop or delay deportation, and how realistic are these chances?
Right. Okay. So I think with anything, and most attorneys always say that it depends, and people hate when you say that. But it depends on your situation. But again, that comes with, having that conversation, being very candid. And I'm very candid with my clients. I'm like, no, I don't think that's going to work. Or either, yes, that will work. So no, it is not. It does not mean that is the end of the road. Okay. It just means the fact that now you're going to have to gather up, you're going to have to lawyer up, you're going to have to show up, and you're going to have to defend yourself. And it does not mean that it's the end of the road. You have to be able to show that there are various things that make up the totality of your circumstances being in this country at this time with this issue. Now, some things that you can use as mechanisms to pause and to kind of delay the actual deportation, and it's dealing with your appeals. So no matter what your result is from an a tap to the government, if it's a denial, I really look to determine, can we appeal? Are there other avenues that we can do? Should we petition again? Because you never want to just simply take no. And that's just in life, right? Like if you truly believe that you have the right to be here, you have proof that you can be here. There's something in your life that gives you a path to citizenship, then we fight. Okay, so one of the ways that we fight is through stays of removal. So if you, at any point you have an order of deportation and now it's to the point where they're saying that we are going to deport you, we would file a stay of removal, and that can be with the immigration court, Board of Immigration Appeals, and even you can do those to ICE. ICE is a little bit harder, but you can do those stays of removal. So there's different mechanisms that are out there. An order, having a notice to appear or an order of deportation is not the end of the world. It does not mean you're at the end of the road. You just need to have those conversations to see what can be done. And your attorneys, they will be very honest with you.
Thank you very much for that. And I do want to ask as well, how do recent changes in immigration law and court backlogs affect the way cases are prepared and defended today?
Right. So that's the thing. It can be a blessing or a curse, depending on how you look at it and what your situation is the fact that we are exceptionally backlogged. There are 3 million pending cases in the court system. So when you get a master calendar hearing, it can be 2 years out. But 2 years out may allow things in your life to happen, and you're having those conversations with your attorney that you can apply. So when you get to immigration court, you can say, hey, I have a path to citizenship. Can we have this case administratively closed because I have a path to citizenship? So that definitely is a factor. And then another aspect is when you're dealing with those appeals and filings. They do take time for the review. So that's another aspect when you're dealing with time. And then with each of these things, you have to realize that with each administration, there are priorities. So every time that there is a change with the presidency, you have to be advised that and be aware that different things will be points that particular administration will now emphasize and be stronger in enforcement. For this administration, they're looking at individuals with serious felonies and that individuals who already have orders of deportation. So just being mindful and politically aware and situationally aware is very important.
Of course. And I also wanted to ask, regarding your experience, attorney, what common mistakes do immigrants or even inexperienced attorneys make during deportation defense that weaken their chances?
Right. So I think the biggest thing is not being honest. Your attorney, that is a safe place. Like I've had conversations with some of my clients, and like maybe the second time we talk, they tell me something. I'm like, I told you this is a safe place. You have to tell me everything, because one factor could change how you potentially write your motion, how you argue your defense. So it's very important to have open, candid conversations. So that's the biggest thing, is that individuals are not honest and forthcoming. And I get it, because you want to kind of keep your personal details to yourself, but you need to find someone that you can have that safe place with, right? The second thing is not preemptively striking. If you know you're undocumented, there's certain things that you can do to preemptively strike, so that you and your family, if anything were to happen, that you would be able to actively work to defend yourself versus reacting to what is being done to you. So I think you can start taking back some of the control. Even though you're at a disadvantage because you're undocumented, you can work to try to take that control back. Another thing is that individuals do not appeal and they do not resubmit. Once you go through that process and now you're in immigration court, and if you get an order of removal, each step you get further into this is harder and more costly to get out. So it's always important for the very front end to connect with a competent legal individual to make sure that process is smooth, even from petitioning, because we see now petitioning, if you're denied, can result in the notice to appear, which is then immigration court. So those are the most common mistakes that I have seen.
I hope everyone's making notes, because this is definitely valuable information. All right. So one more thing that I did wanted to ask, what can you do if you do not know if you have an order of removal?
Yes, I think that this is, I feel like I want a megaphone to go out to tell everybody. But honestly, it is about making sure, and I think individuals say it, making sure that you have your house in order. Okay. Now, everyone will look at someone and say, oh, they have it all together. No one has it all together. There's certain things in my life that if you touch, I'm like, oh, don't want to talk about that. Oh, don't want to talk about that. Right. Everybody is going to have something. Okay. But with this area here, the better you prepare yourself, the better your attorney can advocate for you. And again, opening up an area that you don't want to can just be with your attorney. And part of that is, one, you do a FOIA request. You can do a FOIA request, and that's the Freedom of Information Act. And this is the right that individuals have to know, what does the government know about me? So let's say if you've had interactions with the Customs and Border Patrol, we would do a FOIA request. If you've had submissions to USCIS, we would do a FOIA request. We would determine and get all information that the government has about you, so that if and when we had to submit anything to any entity, we are beyond ready. Okay. Another aspect is you can call a number. If you know your A number, you can call and determine whether or not you have an order of removal. And that is essential, because individuals could have had a court date and maybe the notice to appear did not come to the correct address. Maybe there was a glitch, and there could be an order of removal. So you don't want to walk around, if you're undocumented, not knowing. And it takes 5 seconds to check. And the number is 1-800-898-7180. And it's an automated number. Once you get the prompt, you put in your A number, and if in fact that there is an order of removal, again, it does not mean that it's the end of the world. It is just, you are situationally aware. You're going to have to be a lot more cautious. But this allows you to know, one, do I have an order of removal? If so, let me preemptively strike by getting an attorney and start filling out certain forms that, if by a horrible chance that I'm detained, it's easy to start that process, the paperwork process. So for clients that there may be concern, what I do is I get our documents signed, and it's documentation that shows that I'm your attorney. So I don't have to go through a process to react to the fact that you're detained. I already know, we're already realizing there's a potential that you could be, so we're ready. I've got your paperwork from your FOIA request, and I have a G28 for you, have an EOR 28 filed, and now if I need to do anything, I can do it, and we have no worries there, right? Because that can be stressful in and of itself. So again, preemptively striking, and I know it can be, and it's not my situation, but I do know there are certain things that I have hesitancy to, that I don't want to really jump in and do. But this can be private. You call that number by yourself. Nobody knows, nobody hears, nobody knows that you called. And you can simply determine whether or not you have an order of removal. Then I think you need to get with an attorney and do that FOIA request, know what the government has on you, start gathering your own documents so that you are prepared. This is preemptive striking. So I think it's very important. If you know where you are, you know what you have to do, preemptively strike.
Thank you very much, Attorney Womack. This session has been very, very insightful, and I'm sure our audience agrees. To everyone joining us from Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, thank you for being here. Whether you're a legal professional, community advocate, or just someone looking to understand this better, we're grateful to have you. And if this is your first time with us, welcome. We are immigrationquestion.com, a meeting ground between immigration attorneys and individuals seeking immigration questions. Our two-in-one platform is built with the outstanding features to help simplify the immigration process. Though we are not affiliated with AILA, we are trusted by many AILA attorneys who use our platforms. With immigrationquestion.com, you can also ask your immigration questions for free in any language and get connected with a licensed attorney for legal guidance. And yes, just like many of our users, you may also receive a free confidential initial consultation. Just visit www.immigrationquestion to learn more. And it gets better. We've just launched our new mobile app designed to make access even easier, whether you're a user or an attorney. We have amazing news. immigrationquestion.com is now BBB accredited, and we're proud to announce that immigrationquestion.com has earned Better Business Bureau accreditation. We now bear a mark of trust built on BBB standards, honest advertising, transparency, honoring promises, and handling consumer concerns the right way. This recognition shows our ongoing commitment to serve you with integrity. Attorney Womack, as a respected immigration attorney with your extensive experience with removal defense, employment-based petitions, and many other aspects of immigration, how would you describe the impact of immigration question is having on the immigrant community and on the immigration attorneys just like yourself?
I think it's great. It provides that nexus that you need. Again, I think part of the biggest thing is kind of like making the call, doing that first thing. And again, sometimes you just need a question answered very quickly. And I've noticed I have the app on my phone, and on the outset of even trying to log in, I could type in a question if I wanted, right? So it's just like that free accessibility to be able to ask a question, and you're asking it to very like a pool of competent professionals. So I think it's an excellent platform that's connecting attorneys with individuals who may need assistance. I personally, I love it. And you guys are great. The staff, you guys are great.
Thank you so much for that. It is gratifying to know that both attorneys and immigrants benefit immensely from our platform. Finally, before we get into the Q&A session, what practical advice would you give to someone facing immigration court for the first time to help them feel more prepared and confident in their defense?
Yeah, I think again is taking back the control, right? You make sure that you are aware of your status if you can. And again, if you know an A number, if you have your A number, call that number. Just call and see. You can even Google immigration case status, and you'll get to the automated case, and you can put in your A number. That's one of the biggest things. And the second thing is like if you happen to have to go to a court hearing, know that all the things that your mother and everyone has taught you, that matters. Present yourself, show respect, be on time, look professional, your honor. You're doing all the things that you should be doing that you have been taught to do, just simple being like on your P's and Q's in that aspect. And again, don't panic. I understand that the first thing when you hear something that you don't want to hear is you go into panic mode. I do the same thing, but I have wonderful people in my life who know me and know my personality and know how to say, wait, calm down, let's take it step at a time. And that's the same thing as you need an attorney to do the same thing. No or not right now does not mean forever. And I'm the type of person that no kind of gets me mad. So I'm coming again. Okay. So that's what you need. You need to make sure that you find your own fight and your ability to realize that there are different options, but it's starting those conversations, getting information, becoming knowledgeable for yourself, because you are fighting for your life, for the way that you want to live it. So help your professional do that. So those are kind of like the things that I would say that would be helpful.
I'm confident that our audiences are now more reassured with all of the information that you have provided, attorney. Thank you very much.
Of course,
And if
my
you're
pleasure.
just joining us, thank you. If you're just joining us, we've been having an eye opening conversation with attorney Natalie Womack on today's topic, defending against deportation, effective legal strategies in today's immigration courts. We're now moving on to our live Q&A session. So if you got a question for attorney Womack, now's your moment. Drop your questions in the chat or call us live at 516-703-3483. That's 516-703-3483. All right, I believe we have our first question. So this is from Aria. What is the difference between a bond hearing and the actual deportation case?
I think this is a good question. So, bond hearing is dealing with the right of the government to hold your body, your physical body. So, a bond hearing is to determine whether or not you can be released. The actual deportation case is dealing with the substance of one, your entry, your status here, and whether or not you can remain in the country. So, the deportation is substantive. The bond hearing is more physical.
All right, sounds good. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, we have a question from Juliana. What happens if my asylum case is denied? Do I automatically get deported, or are there other options I can pursue?
Okay, so this is the exact scenario. So she's saying asylum case. There are so many different, you could substitute various things. It could be you've petitioned for a marriage base and you were denied. You petitioned for employment base, you were denied. You petitioned for anything and you were denied. It does not mean that you're automatically deported. Deported is that end result. Now you will probably get a notice to appear, and that notice to appear will tell you that you're here in the US, you should not be in the US, and the code and statutory citation as to why you should not be in the United States. Now, this is basically your charging document, and now what you have to do is you have to go through the removal process to defend yourself against deportation. So, denied, again, for any of my clients, denied, you need to look at your letter, determine what are the avenues of appealing, talk to a competent professional, determine whether or not you need to reapply, what needs to be done. Because even with asylum cases, there's asylum, there is CAT, there's various things that could potentially be done. But you do not want to give up. Denial does not mean no for you. Keep trying. You do not have an order of removal, and even an order of removal does not mean no for me. So again, always keep trying.
Beautifully said. Okay, I think we have a few more questions. So one from Ananya. If deportation is ordered, are there legal strategies to delay removal while appeals are pending?
Perfect. Exactly. It's the stay of removal. So what that does is it basically, like I'm very animated and I do this for my daughter and I was explaining something. It's like you're running in front of someone saying, no, 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 wait. Right. And your no, 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 wait is saying, no, I want you to stay this removal. I know you're trying to make them leave, but I need you to stay this removal, stop the removal, because I need to do this. I need to file this motion. I need to file this motion, and I need to do this. Right now, a stay of removal is only going to be granted if the substance of what you are alleging are the legal path to citizenship is substantial. So you have to make sure that, again, you're having those open conversations with your attorney to determine all the things that you may qualify for. Because if I ask for a stay of removal for you, I'm going to say, yes, I want you to wait. But here's the reason why I want you to wait. Because they have a VAWA action. They have a violence against women's action because this person was domestically abused. And I have 5 different incident reports and arrest reports that show that he or she was a victim of a crime, domestic violence, right? So you want to make sure that you're having those open conversations because you can do a stay of removal. The stay of removal is the option that you would always look to trigger if you can. But you want to make sure that you have substance, so that conversation is very important.
All right, we do have another question from Daniel. If someone is in deportation proceedings but has US born children, does that give them a stronger chance of staying in the country?
So, unfortunately, not the way that you would want. Okay, so there's various things where that may come up. So there's various defenses that you could argue. For one, there's cancellation of removal. So if cancellation of removal, you would have to meet the other aspects that you've been in the country for 10 years continuously, that you are a good moral character. That good moral character means as though there are certain crimes that you could not have committed in order to be deemed to have good moral character. Okay, if you have good moral character, and then you can show that it would be an extraordinary hardship to a U.S. citizen child, which it sounds as though that you have, that you can show that it would be a hardship for the child if you were to leave. That's kind of a layered approach to get there. But there is nothing alone, if you're saying that you have a U.S. born child, that will stop the deportation proceedings. It would have to be various things. It's almost like a tag along that you can also show with various defenses that you may have.
All right, we also have a question from Anita. I missed my immigration court date because the notice was sent to the wrong address. Do I still have a chance to fight my case?
Excellent. Yes. That's the type of stuff that is, the proof process is a lot easier, because if you were to do a FOIA request and show one address not matching the address that you provided, how could you have defended? How could you have come to court to defend yourself? Notice is important. You have due process rights. So in those due process rights, you have the right to be heard. And if you don't tell me where to come and when to come, how can I defend myself, right? So that's you need to make sure that you're talking to an attorney, because you can fight that. Yes, definitely.
Exactly. Beautiful. Okay, I think we have one more room for one more question.
Okay.
Great. This is coming from Mohammed. For those of us who cannot afford expensive attorneys, are there effective low-cost or non-profit legal strategies to defend against deportation?
Yes. Okay. So I think that's an excellent question. So expensive attorneys, again, that word can be relative, right? So attorneys generally are going to be money, but part of that is because it's a lot of work. Okay. And it's a lot of thinking through and strategically getting you to a result that you're looking for. Now, there are various low cost and nonprofit legal attorneys as well as entities that can assist you. I would say that as of right now, they're going to be flooded. But I wouldn't, again, you never let no stop you. You continuously call back, connect with individuals. I know for a couple of years, and when I got my experience with the SIJS, which is a special immigrant and juvenile status, that's where I got my experience, was through the DC Catholic Charities. So there's Catholic Charities in every state. So there's a Virginia Catholic Charities. There's various organizations that provide low cost or sometimes no cost legal assistance. So those are options. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Womack, for those clear and practical insights. This guidance is invaluable for anyone facing removal proceedings or supporting a loved one through this difficult process. To our audience, thank you again for joining us. We hope this conversation is giving you clarity on defending against deportation and the effective legal strategies applicable in today's immigration courts. Don't forget, at immigrationquestion.com, you can ask your immigration questions for free and get in touch with a licensed attorney who understands your case. You may also be eligible for a free confidential consultation. So head on over to www.immigrationquestion.com and sign up today. And if you want to revisit this session or share it with a colleague, you can catch the replay on Spotify. Just search Borderless Talk by immigrationquestion.com. Join us again on Friday for another enlightening conversation. You won't want to miss it. Once again, thank you so much, Attorney Womack. We can't wait to have you back again.
Thank you. You've been great. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.